Well, hello there. We're going to talk about balance, just exactly what balance is, especially as we come into October, which is about sort of the change of seasons. So what is balance? And what do we mean when we talk about balance? Are we talking about work-life balance? Are we talking about feeling balanced, balancing life, maybe balancing work and kids? What about a balanced diet? Is that what we mean when we say we're balancing? Balancing finances? And if you look at magazines in the checkout, I bet you could find one that mentions balance every time you're at the store because everybody wants balance. But what exactly is it? Even I talk about sort of being in balance or being out of balance, but what exactly do we mean? How do we know when we've achieved balance? And if I pose this question to each one of you individually, everyone would have a different definition of what balance means to them. But I tell you what would be common, and that's the feeling around being balanced. We can feel when our body and mind are in harmony and peace, can't we? And on the flip side, we can also feel when our body and mind are off kilter, even just slightly. And many people will come to me as clients and they'll say, hey, Kerry, I just don't feel myself. Something's not quite right. And what we're talking about is that sense of balance again. So what are these feelings of being in balance? So those feelings might include moodiness, frustration, exhaustion, anger, irritability, constipation, feeling overly sweaty, scatterbrained, physical pains, lethargic. I mean, the list goes on of what it's like to feel out of balance. And Ayurveda says, listen to the body. Now, we often ignore those signs of imbalance, and we do it because we need to power through. You know, we want to power through to the end. And the problem is there often is no end. So then what? We can just power through the next day and the next and the next until we die or retire. And that's not balance. So let's talk about what it means first and then what to do about it. So if we understand what balance is and how we get imbalanced, then we can prevent ourselves from getting there in the first place and then help us feel sort of that sort of lethargic sluggishness less often. So feeling in balance is having equal health, emotionally, mentally, and physically. And in Ayurveda, total balance means that your unique combination stays the same throughout life as it did the day that you were born. So the word balance means there are two forces acting at the same time, but they maintain equilibrium and proper function. And also that optimal health is when your natural balance stays the same throughout your life. So we maintain our balance through multiple methods, and that includes diet, daily routine, exercise, breathing techniques, the five senses, herbal therapies, even the company we keep can keep us in balance or out of balance. These are the life blocks then that create our most healthy foundation, and from there we can really flourish and grow. So if one of these things is ignored, misused, or misaligned, then we will go out of balance. So balanced vata creates energy in us. Balanced pitta creates that sense of radiance, that glow, that sense of vitality. And balanced kapha creates strength. Now remember, we have each one of these in us. We have vata, pitta, and kapha. And even though we may predominate in one or two, we have to have vata, pitta, and kapha in us. And this is what the balanced versions of those things do for each one of us. So then my next question is, how is your life balanced? So for this section, I mean, you can draw this out or you can just eyeball it, but sort of take a look. And many life or executive coaches use the wheel here to see how well-rounded, literally, your life is. So there's no judging here. Have fun, and this should give you some insights about your general life balance. So imagine the center of the wheel is 0 and the outer edge is 10. With your pen, if you want to, or with your eyes, color in your satisfaction in each pie. So 0 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, color from the center to the number you choose. And then what areas need attention to ensure a smoother ride throughout your journey of life. And this is just one that somebody had done. And if you have a look here, we'll start with money. The money level is at a 6. So, not too bad. Their health and fitness, they think they're doing really well at. Friends and family, not so well. They need more support in that area. Relationships, great. Personal growth, definitely an area here that they need to concentrate on. Fun and recreation looks okay. Environment, not so great. And their career, they feel pretty good with. So it sort of gives you a visual into how balanced in all these areas that are important to us that our life is. So I'm going to let you just enjoy this and just take a look at this for just a couple of minutes. And as you're looking at this, I'm just going to talk to you about, when we are in that moment of, yes, I'm totally in my space, in my element, in my groove, if you like, that's balance. Those times when you feel totally absorbed, that's balance. It's usually fleeting. It might feel like a sort of just a pause. The trick is to capture that moment, to get into that moment and stay there as long as you can, because that's when we feel truly balanced. So in Ayurveda, imbalances are the result of 3 things. First off, wrong choices or mistaken intellect. And then misuse of the senses, or it can be the effects of time. So let's look at wrong choices. Now, we have this wise little part of our mind called, in Ayurveda, buddhi. It really means your innate intelligence. And this buddhi is our inner wisdom. It's kind of like our intuition. It sort of sits on our shoulder, whispers the right things for us to do. Our buddhi, or our inner intelligence, always helps us to adhere to choices that would be best for us, whether they're big or small. And when we listen to that innate intelligence, we feel accomplished, we feel highly productive, and we're more likely to make the right choices by following through with the right actions. If we don't listen to our buddhi, then we won't make the right choices, which, according to Ayurveda, is the root cause of all kinds of problems then. So there's a waterfall effect for bad choice making, because one thing tends to lead to another. So I want to walk you through 2 examples. 1, when we don't listen to our buddhi, and 2, when we do. So let me be dramatic for a second. After a wonderfully tantalizing meal, you're full, but the food was so good that you want a second helping. Your buddhi says, hey, 1 helping is enough, or you're going to feel overfull. You know that you don't need a second helping, but it was just so tasty. Against your inner intelligence, against buddhi's advice, you have more food anyway. That second serving pushed you into a food coma, and now you are too lethargic to take your 30-minute evening walk that I've told you to do. So what do you do instead? Well, instead you veg out in front of the TV watching House Hunters. You feel a bit disappointed in yourself, and you're irritated by, small closets being a big deal breaker in these people on House Hunters. So you switch channels, and now you're watching more TV, Shark Tank instead. And you still feel very full. Now, since TV is an addicting little bugger, you might stay up past your 10 o'clock bedtime, your Ayurvedic bedtime. And as the night goes on, you get a little bit snacky, don't you? So buddhi says, hey, don't do it, just go to bed. But you reach for the chocolates anyway because your sweet tooth is calling for it right now. Besides, you already screwed up the night, so who cares? You then get a sugar surge, so you stay up even later, and then you have restless sleep because of the caffeine and the chocolates. You have a hard time waking up the next morning because your belly is still full from the night before. And then you wake up feeling, you just feel really crappy because of all the junk you ate the night before, from too much food, guilt from watching too much TV and staying up too late, and all because you made the wrong choices. This was nobody else's fault. You overate, you watched too much TV. TV drains energy and can cause insomnia. You stayed up too late. Your food was not digested properly. And not digesting food thoroughly is the easiest way to gain weight and build up toxins. Get my point? So wrong choices are responsible for so many health problems. So let's start making better ones, because it is totally in our control. Our wisdom is already there. We already feel that innate wisdom. It's just waiting for us to listen and act on it. So let's give some examples of misusing or some of the wrong choices. What I want to do is I want to go to our example number 2 then, which is when we listen to our innate intelligence. So let's say you listen to your body and you only had one delicious helping at dinner. You feel physically nourished and you have had enough energy to clean up the kitchen, and you reward yourself by enjoying a leisurely evening walk outside at sunset. The walk refreshes you because you were out in nature, able to enjoy some downtime after a long, hard day. Perhaps you even experienced something interesting on your walk, which may have sparked a really nice conversation with a loved one when you got home. When there's downtime, our mind relaxes and we have that sense of pause, that sense of just silence. And when we have that pause, new ideas have a window to enter. Maybe you still watch House Hunters. There's nothing wrong with House Hunters, but you limit it to one episode because you know that you can get sucked into that TV for hours. After one episode, you've had your fill of small closets being a deal breaker, and you turn to a favorite book, knitting project, phone call to a friend, or you journal before bed. So because you actually spent time nourishing yourself, you then feel really good about how you spent your evening, and therefore you actually want to go to sleep at 10 o'clock at night. Now, we're not going to be perfect in our decision making every time, but at any time we derail, we can stop, we can make a better choice. So notice the difference of this scenario versus the first one. Like night and day, each of your awesome choices influence the next great choice. So once we start choosing and doing the right things, we feel increasingly better, healthier, and we want to do more and more of it. However, the same happens if you make the wrong choices. It can easily end up in that domino effect of bad choices, and then we just feel junky. We just reflect what we eat. We feel sluggish. We feel unmotivated. We feel depressed. So we'll not be perfect in our decision making, but as I said, we can make a better choice. Let's look at our next reason, which is mistaken intellect. So mistaken intellect simply means that we don't know what's good or what's bad for us. So we make a decision with complete unknowing. It would be like if we didn't understand gravity and we watched eggs roll off the counter. Oops, we didn't know that they would fall and smash. What a mess. Ayurvedically speaking, many people fall into this category just because we're beginning to understand Ayurveda. So we don't necessarily make the right choices because we just don't have the knowledge for it. So I want you to think about some of the things that you have learned on your journey in Ayurveda that you didn't know before. Maybe it was about the routines of going to bed and getting up. Maybe it was about some of those incompatible foods. maybe it was about sort of changing according to the seasons. But there has been some definite things that you have learned. And then our last example is misuse of the senses. So the five senses are our only connection and interpretation of information to the physical world. That's how we use our five senses. So everything that we experience in our life is realized through the senses of sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. Our senses are the vehicle that Ayurveda uses for healing in various therapies to bring the body back into proper balance. And you'll know that in working with me, we use those senses. We smell certain things, we use oils, we taste different tastes, the six tastes. So it's really important that we use those different senses, Ayurvedically speaking. Now, activating and treating the senses can actually heal us, which means any misuse of the senses can greatly imbalance us too. So when the senses are fed too much or too little, or they're fed the wrong information, they deliver that to the body and mind, and then that's when things can get really sort of imbalanced and screwed up. So let's be dramatic. Imagine Las Vegas, the Strip. You walk into a casino, and you know the sound in a casino. You know, jingle, jingle, bang, bang. I mean, it's just constant, that sort of electronic sound. So you're suddenly smacked in the ears with loud jingling, bingling sounds from the machines. The room is full of smoke, and to cover it up, there's that super stinky air perfume that they use. Thousands of electronic screens with flashy, fun, animated things. They're flickering and dancing to keep you engaged for hours. People serve you bottomless drinks. Oh, and they pump oxygen into, talk about sensory overload. So for our delicate and our highly intelligent senses, this is just way too much to digest all at once. Good things that they have spas and massages too in Vegas, because that brings us back into balance again. So you have to treat your senses with great care and respect. They're the vehicles that deliver all kinds of wonderful information to our bodies to help us experience and absorb the whole world around us. So if you feel like your senses have been abused or neglected, then give them some help, give them some reprieve, give them a refresher, give them some nourishment. And we'll go much more into that in future calls. But let's talk about, if you're one of these people that spends all day in a computer, and at the end of the day, your eyes just feel a little heavy, they're stinging, they're dry, just taking some time out during the day and just moving your sight to something beautiful in nature can restore your eyes, can bring sort of that water element back to the eyes so that they're not so dry. And then our other thing is the effect of time. So we can control so many aspects of our health, but time is just not one of them. It doesn't matter what there is out there that's anti-aging. We cannot control time. We can't control our age. We can't control how the seasons change or how fast the clock moves. However, what we can do is we can make decisions that sort of navigate our boat smoothly through those waves of time. So time changes. It changes us, rather, as we age. We go from being chubby babies and toddlers to energetic kids to opinionated teens to working, goal-orientated adults to golden age to wise elderly folk. So we would not expect an elderly person to be as physically active or as resilient as a teenager, nor would we expect a teenager to be as wise as somebody in their golden years. The seasons are transformative and they require us to adapt to the seasons as well. The effect of winter tells us to add more clothes and eat heavy, comforting foods. But it also tells us to put more moisture onto our skin because winter's really dry. In contrast, the effect of summer tells us to wear lighter clothes, take a dip in the pool to stay cool. And time also changes every second of the day. The sun rises and sets at a different time each day. When it's dark at 5 o'clock in the middle of winter, we feel like going to bed so much earlier than when the sun sets at 9:30 in the summertime. The effect of time, it's putting us to sleep or keeping us awake. Our awareness around how time affects us is key in living a healthy Ayurvedic life. So I just want you to think in your mind and sort of come up with examples of how the effects of time have changed you too. And then what we will do next week is we will actually talk about how the doshas rule time and what we can do to live in harmony with the daily routine, the seasons, and our age. So that's going to be fun next month too. As normal, this is just a quick chat for us to be able to get together to learn a little bit more about Ayurveda. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Take care.